Good morning. Working. Hello. Welcome to this panel. Um, Within the next couple of minutes, we want to discuss standards in controlled environment agriculture. Actually, whether it makes sense or not for us, I think there is an obvious answer for that, but I hope we can have some controversial discussion about it. So why standardization? So just to introduce myself, I'm Jan-Gerd Frerichs. I'm from Körber Technologies in Germany. We are working as system integrator and turnkey solution provider for controlled environment agriculture, with a focus on supply chain and coming historically from pharma and the food industry. So it might obviously be the case that we have a high interest in standards for integration. But the hypothesis today is that we think that to scale up CEA further, there is definitely still a lack of standards. And to overcome these lack, we need to find ways to just realize collaborations or whatever we need to discuss today. And I would like to introduce first my three panelists here. So first of all, please just introduce yourselves and then we can get into it.
I'll start. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Marc Bruins. I am from Infinite Acres. I'm Director of Business Development and Program Management. And at Infinite Acres, we are a turnkey technology provider of vertical farming systems, ranging from the small-sized R&D modules to bigger, mid-sized production units and full vertical farms from seed to pack out.
My name is Tom Webster. I'm Chief Technology Officer and founder at GrowUp. GrowUp is a UK-based salad business. We grow and sell salads and distribute it throughout the UK through the major UK retailers. We just so happen to do that through a vertical farm. So we have a fully automated vertical farm based in Kent, and that is solely powered by renewable technology.
Hi guys, I'm Freddie Reed. I'm product manager at IGS. So IGS or Intelligent Growth Solutions, are a vertical farming technology provider. So we build growing systems, and we've developed a proprietary growing system which we call the Growth Tower, which is a modular tower system which comes in 6, 9 or 12 meter high modules. And the modules are designed so you can deploy one on a site, or we are currently building one in the Middle East, which is 200 modules on a site.
Thank you. So actually, just from my understanding, we have three different group of suppliers: a turnkey solution provider, operator basically.
Yeah, grower, operator.
Grower, operator, and equipment provider. So I think it's a good mix to understand your needs. And for your business, what does standardization in controlled environment agriculture would mean or is meaning to you?
So for us, I think it's a set of framework and procedures that we collaboratively decide upon are very useful. But it's necessary to have these standards to make sure that we are able to develop our products without constraining innovation, but at the same time being able to scale our solutions. And currently, there's not a lot of those standards out there yet, in our opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think standardization for us is quite a broad topic, actually. I think at GrowUp, we see it having quite a wide remit. I think we think about standardization in terms of data. And I think one of the big opportunities for the industry now is to kind of come together a bit more and to do a lot more comparative work and collective work. And if we're going to do that, we need standardized language for how we talk about what we're doing. I think vertical farming is also shifting into quite a kind of clean food sort of space. And I think that means a lot of things in a lot of different places. And the problem with that is that if we're all trying to do things slightly differently, we're all asking for different things, and that becomes quite expensive. And I think developing standards around what it means to grow hygienically so that we can have a collective ask as an industry, I think that only works in our favor. And then finally, We GrowUp we're a GrowUp. We work with a systems integrator, Bosman Van Zaal, I'm sure everyone's familiar with them. And we ask them to bring us the best technology to meet our needs for our plants. But in order for them to do that, that technology has to be able to seamlessly fit into our operating facility. So having a standardized backbone and language that technology can use to integrate with our system is really key for us to be able to keep our asset working in the best way possible and evolve over time.
If I could add to that, so I think it could be like really practical, like having a common interface, common protocol with some of the pieces of equipment that all need to work together, right?
Yep.
That's exactly what you mean. But on the other hand, it could also be quality assurance at the back end where all the produce coming out of the farms is reliable for the customers.
Completely, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so from our perspective, we took the business decision to focus on the growing system. So we created a proprietary growing system where the HVAC, LEDs, growth trays are all integrated and work in sync with the efficiencies of each element of it. And then, to Tom's point as well, growers are wanting to use the best solutions out there for their service area, and that stuff exists in the field today, so we didn't want to focus on reinventing the wheel. So integration with those elements in the service area is really important for us, and being able to execute from seeding to harvest and being able to schedule from seeding to harvest is really important. And the other element for us is that we're not just working in the leafy greens and herbs industry, we're working in propagation, tree seedlings, etc. So for those different operations, the technologies that are needed on a site are going to need to change. So it could be you have a seeding line to one of our systems which is then integrating with a glass house. And that will be a different process flow from what's needed if it's a seed to harvest leafy greens system.
So just to sum that up, and to my understanding, we are talking about connectivity, interoperability with regards to quality assurance, for example, data interfaces, data-driven analytics, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Hygienic issues, hygiene standards,
Yep.
which is something completely different from the data and the interoperability. And also some interfacing standards to interface not only on the data or communication protocol, but also on it physically, right?
Yeah.
Which of those in your daily life, in your business, which standards is desperately missing from your point of view?
Well, maybe I can give a real-world example. Like 1.5 years ago, we were developing our field lab at our office in The Hague, which is a facility where we have a number of R&D grow modules with our technology, patented airflow, lights, irrigation systems, the same we all use. But as we were developing that, we were having issues with finding one protocol that we can use to connect all of these sensors and all of these data elements that needed to be connected. So in the end, we just muscled through and delivered the project, but it complicated things and really slowed things down. So having a common protocol is maybe one of the things that's really necessary.
Mm-hmm. So connectivity, protocol.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges with what I think a lot of people, including ourselves, are trying to do with vertical farming is, like I said, this shift towards clean food. And in doing that, we're really bridging kind of 3 industries. Because also we're also working towards highly automated farms. So it's this industrial automation meets horticulture and meets food manufacturing. And I think it's in that kind of nexus that we play. And certainly as we've built out Pepiness, which is our farm in Kent, we've definitely had challenges in kind of getting those 3 worlds to talk to each other, speak the same language in kind of in every sense of that, really, whether it's about communication protocols or it's about design standards. It's been something that we have butted up against a lot, and it's something that we continue to work with our partners to bring everyone up to speed on, getting our horticultural partners to design equipment in a way that's cleanable to a standard that you'd expect to have in a food manufacturing facility, or getting our seeding line to talk the same language as our bagging line. There's a, you know, it's both of those sides of the coin.
Seems like we all have the same problems.
I think we might. Yeah.
But isn't that also depending on the level of automation? I mean, if you have a fully automated or fully manual farm.
I think one of the big challenges that vertical farming has faced over the last 6 years is about cost of production. And if we're serious about bringing the cost of production down so that we can be price parity with alternative ways of growing food, then I think we have to be looking at fully automated production. We need to be bringing down the labour cost in the same way that we need to focus on energy and plant science. We need to be focusing on bringing down that cost of production in labour as well. So it's less of a problem if you're less automated, but I think the opportunity really here is to automate as far as possible.
Just build on both of those. On the food safety side, for us as well as a technology provider, the regulations will be different in the UK to what they are in the US to what they are in the Middle East, and you have to make sure that your design standards fit into 3 different regulatory frameworks. And so that's standardization on that side would be very, very useful. From the integration of systems on the site, that in order for vertical farming as well to work as well, we believe it needs to be done at scale. And in order to do it at scale, then you need to have ERP systems, you need to have MES platforms, etc., in order to manage the scheduling, to get the process flow through the system. And it's similar to your experience, Mark. This is that those protocols just don't exist to put all those building blocks together at the moment. And so, if we're looking at standardization on that front, that allows all the people here who are here today, all these technology providers, to sing off the same hymn sheet and to work together and to act as building blocks in a system.
I think that the software integration piece is also a really key part. And we talked about how you can get hardware to integrate with your software, but actually having the different software platforms, that's something we really butted up against at the start, was that ERP, SCADA integration piece, and actually we've ended up building a separate backbone over the top of it to manage that communication rather than to get the torches. It's just become too hard to do.
At the same time, software is one part, but hardware and infrastructure is the other, right? So having a standard is great, and it also adds to the fact that us as turnkey suppliers will be able to take out one piece of equipment and replace it by another because, for example, our operators or our clients prefer that. So having those standards will make that way easier.
I just want to come back to the software discussion because I have the feeling software communication data is one of the key aspects here. Maybe it's a little bit too technical, but on which level you think it's more important, on the shop floor level, like integrating the equipment, or more on the data, let's call it ERP or management level?
That's a good one. I'm not a software developer, so hard to answer, I would say. But looking at it very pragmatically, I would say throughout these architectures that you're describing, it's very important to have those common interfaces and common connections using a standard. And maybe we need to just pick one and say, collaboratively as industry, this is one we like, and start using that, building off that, and bottom up, work our way through to what works from a software perspective.
I think it depends which kind of hat you're wearing. Right. I'm sure our team on the shop floor would say the most important thing is that the system operates in the right way every single day, and when they sow a seed, they know it's going to end up in the growing chamber and eventually come out the other side and get harvested. But at the same time, we need to have that holistic view of what's happening. So I think it's both in parallel. I think
I was going to say the same. You can't really have one without the other, because if you have the execution stuff in place, but then the people executing it at the beginning of the production line don't know what the next crop they're going to have to plant is and where that's going, then that falls apart. So it needs to be both in parallel.
And maybe the final digging into the deep from my side, the hygiene aspects. I mean, we still want to grow food. So what about that? Is that maybe even more important rather than having all this interoperation and connectivity?
It's a very important aspect, right? There's a global gap out there that we all follow in the horticulture sector, so we should have something similar for vertical farming. Again, I'm repeating myself, but I think having a consistent output out of our farms that's reliable is important for the customers and is important for the consumers. So that should be key.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think this is an either or. This is the kind of we have to do not it all, but we have to do both these things. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be safe to eat, and we need to solve both problems.
Yeah, and potentially allows growers to access premium markets if they're able to unwash ready to eat as well. So it makes the economic case for a vertical farm better if you can get that premium market.
And that's a good point, economic case. Now, do you have any example or anything where a standard would have such leverage on your daily business, which makes it really reasonable or argumentable to have a kind of standard?
I think I have one, again, a very practical example, because as a company, we've been trying to figure out, so we deliver seed to pack out in our farms, which is like a whole scala of equipment, very different suppliers, and we all lash them together with our own proprietary technology as well. And we're looking for that overarching umbrella to cover all these pieces of equipment and control them through a single pane of glass. So now we have 5 or 6 screens for a controller or an operator to use these, to interface with these pieces of equipment. And yeah, that's not very economic. It's not very easy to use, not very efficient. So we are developing this single pane of glass overarching software, and not having a common protocol that allows us to talk with our umbrella to each of these pieces of equipment is hard. It complicates things, delays the development. So if we would just figure out and decide upon one common protocol as an industry, that would really help.
So you're all developing your own software, for example?
We aren't developing our own software. Okay. We have our own data platform that we do all of our data analysis and kind of modeling and kind of more advanced analytics through. But we work with third-party software providers. Okay.
And so our software runs the growing operations within the growth tower modules, and then that will work with other software providers to provide the scheduling and the execution of a full system integration.
Any other example from you, Marc or Freddie, to how standardization could increase operational efficiency?
I think not necessarily operational efficiency, but I think having design standards is I think a really important part of this, because if we're looking at how we scale the industry, we need to be able to buy technology that's ready to go into vertical farming. And a big part of that, like, kind of beating a drum here a little bit, but is about hygienic design and making equipment that's easy to wash, easy to clean, easy to maintain in a food safe environment. And I think that design standard, if we could have something like that that spanned internationally, that we could work with our suppliers and really benchmark them against, that would be a big win for the industry, because it's collective buying power. And at the moment, it's each one of us asking for a slightly different thing from different suppliers, whereas if we came together as an industry and said, this is what we think we need for hygienic food manufacturing equipment in a vertical farm, whether that's your seeding line, your harvesting line, or your bagger, and whether that's a hygiene standard or a communication standard, I think it opens growth up, to unlocks a lot of growth in the industry.
It makes it way easier for us as integrators or turnkey suppliers to say that a supplier or a vendor confirms to a certain standard. And it makes it easy to say, okay, we pick this one.
Yeah, so we create productized systems. So in the same way as you get CE or UL certification, if you can get food standard safety certification on that product, that'd be really, really useful for us, rather than have to do it on a project-by-project basis.
So, finally, is standardization now a technical wish? So we have talked a lot about the why and the how, or the what, but the how. How to do it? Is it? Do you have any ideas? Who is actually demanding such kind of standards?
I think it's it's started with a wish, but it's now becoming more like a demand from, in particular, the turnkey system suppliers. And not only because as builder of the farm, that's what you need and what you want, but the operators of the farm want it as well. So they want a system that works using the same standards. And investors want to see a scalable solution that you can make through these standards.
So how are you actually collaborating with? I mean, you are with the field lab, of course, which is a nice and beautiful activity to collaborate and to integrate partners.
Well, collaboration sometimes involves one-offs and making very specific customized solutions. I think in the field lab we really co-develop together with our partners. We work on data models and integrating all the systems, and by doing that, literally not collaboration but co-developing, that's really been successful for us, and we've really been making big steps there and accelerating in the development of our vertical farming products.
Tom, you as a grower, are you setting the requirements for your suppliers, or
Well,
how it's working?
that's exactly how we kind of see our role in the kind of the technology supply chain. You know, GrowUp is we're a grower. We focus in understanding what our plants need, and then we work with our technology providers in order to provide those conditions and the tools that we need in order to understand our plants better. So we really kind of set the specification, and then we work with our technology integrator for them to find partners that can work with us and meet the needs of our plants. But to your point, is this a wish? I think increasingly now it's not becoming a wish. I think we're seeing it as something, you know. We need, if technology is going to work in our existing farm, and we have a large farm in the UK that's operational, if we are going to bring new technology into that, it has to fit into the system. It has to meet our design standards from a hygiene point of view, and it has to talk the same language as the rest of the farm. So for us, it really is it's a requirement for collaboration. But I think increasingly now, as the industry matures a bit, everyone's getting a bit more comfortable having conversations, being a bit more open, and I think it's really on us as an industry to demand it. I don't think we can expect somebody from outside to say, oh look, this industry needs some standards, let's do it for them. We have to be driving this conversation and really kind of representing our needs in the best way, and making sure that what we're building and what we're procuring is meeting the needs of our customers and our consumers.
Yeah, okay. Freddie, how are you collaborating with partners?
Yes, so we're working with various software providers and service area equipment providers. Basically, so we've got our software and providing the interfaces and the data points that we need back from them. We're currently building projects in the Middle East, and that's going to incorporate these elements on it. So it's going to act as a pilot of how we can make this all work together for this system.
So looking at the maturity of the industry, is it maybe still too early for standards, or what do you think, Freddie?
I don't think so, because our problems will be the same problems that Marc is having, and we'll be working with very similar partners as well. So
the sooner the better.
Yeah, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
I totally agree. The industry is young, but we're maturing, right? And if you look at other industries that have been really successful, like the food industry and heavy and light industry around the world, in manufacturing, for example, they use standards, and it's time for us to catch up.
No argument.
And it takes time to develop such standards, right? And you should start the sooner the better, right? Yeah. So actually, unfortunately, you all agree that there is a space for standards and it needs to be done. So, but now, when and actually again, how? What would be the most impactful way, from your point of view, or maybe also the building block to start with? Or I hear it's somehow related to communication, data, probably, but
I think it's about communication. Not just at a farm level, I think as an industry level. Yeah. It's about coming together to really demand that of our suppliers. And so I think it starts with us as businesses collaborating, working closer together. I think we need to mature. It's always been very kind of close ranks, and I think it's time to kind of take a shift. the step move forward.
I totally agree with Tom here. I think it's up to industry groups like Farm Tech Society and technology providers to come up with this demand for standards, take the lead, and then really start working with them.
So it's more the technology providers, which would be the leading community, or is it governments? Is it whatever? I mean, we know it from other industries. There are special groups, like you say.
Yeah, but I think governments would be good to set out some guidelines and maybe some practical protocols. But at the risk of sounding a bit, well, let's call it like this: governments are slow, right? So it would take us way too long for them to develop what we need right now. So that's why I think the industry groups and us as suppliers should be really on the forefront here.
I think governments are slow, but they're also very kind of physically bound. And I think what we're all asking for here is standards that are kind of not local. We want kind of international standards, so that, you know, as an international industry, we can have that. We can be looking to our suppliers to solve the same problems for each of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with both of the points.
So, from your individual point of view, what would be your first step, maybe as a summary of the talks here? What would be the first step you would support in finding whichever standard? Let's try to keep it generically.
So I think we've all been talking about interoperability, right? And having common communication protocol is something that I really see on the shop floor, on the design side of things and preparation side of things. That's really necessary. I think a big step can be made there. And we're making big steps in the field lab. We're working together with our partners where we're working on that, but we're not there yet. So that's, from my perspective, would be a very first practical thing to really do to make a good impact.
Yeah, I think it's about communication. It's about I think it's coming together and having clarity as an industry about what it is that we're asking for, and I think we need to agree on that. And then we need to be communicating that really clearly to our partners.
Because on that interoperability side, if you think about a greenhouse, it's the same process, it's the same equipment, this is the growing part's different. So it's not just vertical farming where this interoperability thing will be useful for, it's across those different industries. So that potentially will give it a bit more bargaining power in getting this going. Okay,
So I think that's a very clear statement in total. It's about interoperability and connectivity. I was expecting a little bit different view actually also on hardware and interfacing, but probably this is something which is also of interest, but basically to have a common integration and also to save cost on that integration level. That's maybe the most pending or the most urgent thing to work on the interoperability. Different word for Germans, sorry, interoperability. Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, we didn't think about any questions from the audience, but if there is any, I think we have some time left, of course.
There's one there.
It was really interesting. I just have a question regarding how would you set those standards, and do you think that, for example, a consortium of vertical farm could be a good point, and what would be the challenges in that?
Yeah, Tom, I think you have a good opinion in the previous point you made here. I think it starts with us coming together as industry groups, and whether that's a consortium or a group of people just talking and setting these standards, that's probably one of the first big things that we need to do. Regarding challenges, yeah, just put the people in this one group of people in the right room and get going. Yeah, right. Let's get it done. Farmers have always been very practical, and vertical farming is dealing with challenges that we I've never seen before. So with the right minds, right group with the right minds in the same room, we'll be able to solve that problem, in my view.
Yeah, I think as an industry we've been very closed door. And I think it's time to move forward from that. And I think the biggest challenges is probably kind of our own perception of what we can and can't say. And I think the reality is we can probably say a lot more than we think we can. You know, it's in reality, I think we're all a long way from being each other's competitors. And as operators, you know, I look around the other vertical farms, and I think the day in which we are each other's direct competitors is the day in which we've all succeeded. So I think the thing that we can do now as an industry is come together to help us get to that place, and kind of, you know, ditch our egos at the door and accept that we've all got a lot of shared learnings and shared problems, and we can come together and say, oh yeah, me too. This is how I solved it. How did you solve it? And hopefully you have a really positive experience in doing that.
And to make it real practical, we're meeting this afternoon, setting the first steps.
And just maybe to add to that, don't reinvent the wheel. There are standards available from different industries which could also work. So.
Yeah, exactly, because it's vertical farming is largely going to work by, like GrowUp are doing, integrating it with an element of food manufacturing as well. So if you can take learnings from those different industries and bring them downstream or upstream or whatever direction it is, then that could be really beneficial, because the potential will exist in that industry, and then we can bring them back.
Further questions?
So I was wondering, standardization is definitely necessary, but I also heard someone briefly mention patenting technology. How are we gonna be able to develop as smaller technology developers when a lot of bigger companies are trying to put patents on a lot of the standard systems? How will we allow others to still join the industry and develop their own stuff?
Tough question. I think, patents are in place to protect companies and their own IP, something that they develop, right? So the Coca-Cola recipe is not out there on the market, but there's a lot of alternatives to Coca-Cola that you can get. So I think on the technology front, that's definitely also the same. We all sort of use the same technology when it comes to lighting, irrigation, climate. It's more or less the same. There's niches there and nuancial differences, but yeah, to your point, giving out a patent to patented technology to everyone, that's not what it's meant to do. But yeah, I agree with you there. That's a difficult topic.
So we're a cell in a process flow, basically. So it's the bits in between, it's the lines in between which need the integratability element. So it could be IGS, it could be infinite acres in that cell. So that doesn't necessarily matter about that pattern element.
I think we're all patent holders, or at least pending as businesses, and so I think it's an important tool for kind of protecting our IP as much, and in that sense allowing innovation, because it justifies a lot of the work and the hard work that goes into getting that kind of that first innovation off the ground. How you use them is a completely different beast, and how people choose to use their patents, that's down to the user. But I don't see it inherently as restrictive on the industry.
Yeah.
I personally think the reason for standardization is to support also generating IP, so you can focus on generating the IP and not focus on things that have been done before by others. So that's Any further question? No, that's not the case. Then thanks to the audience, thanks to the experts on stage here.
You're welcome. Unfortunately, there was not a lot of discord between us, which maybe
that's
a good thing,
sorry
right?
about
We'll
that.
disagree more next time.
That's it.
Yeah. Right. Thank
Great,
you.
thank you very much.